I love Barbarians in Dungeons & Dragons, and I love the magic items that you can get to punish your adversaries at the table. Today, I want to give you my top 10 magic items, but in doing that, I actually ended up with a list of like 20 or so magic items. So some of them are going to be broken into categories. We're going to talk about consumables, but let's look at the top magic items available for Barbarians in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition 2024. All right, let's start off with our honorable mentions with the Javelin of Lightning. The Javelin of Lightning is a great low-level magic item that is going to eliminate a big problem that Barbarians have, and that is not having great ranged attacks. Whether it's hand axes or regular javelins, they just don't really connect. And the Javelin of Lightning solves that problem. When you throw the Javelin of Lightning at a target no farther than 120 feet from you, you can forego making a ranged attack roll and instead turn the weapon into a bolt of lightning. This is going to be a 5-foot wide line between you and the target. The target and each other creature in this line, excluding you, makes a DC 13 dexterity saving throw, taking 4d6 lightning damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. A fantastic ranged option that is eventually going to kind of fall at the higher levels. The success of it is going to be much less with the DC 13 dexterity save and only doing 4d6 damage. Fantastic at lower levels. Higher levels, not as much of an impact, and there are definitely other items that I would prefer to have as a barbarian. Next up, an oldie but a goodie, the immovable rod. Having this on your barbarian is a very useful thing. You can use this to jab it into another creature, click it, and keep them where you want them to continue pummeling them. If they're a slippery or a slick creature that keeps slipping in and out of shadows or hiding, going invisible, teleporting, the immovable rod will keep them in place, and it is a fantastic item to do that with. Up next, a surprising one probably for some people, but the Gauntlets of Ogre Power makes my honorable mention list. The strength score of 19 while wearing this gauntlets is the reason. You can bump this up to a strength score of 23 with a magic item later on, the Hammer of Thunderbolts. Spoiler alert. But at just a strength score of 19, you're going to be able to achieve this at a very low level. Probably by either level 4 or level 8, you're going to have a strength score of 19. So the usefulness of this item is going to peter off pretty heavily, and taking up an attunement slot for 19 strength is just not something we want to be doing as a barbarian. Next up, we have our Boots of Speed, making the honorable mention list just because there are other items that I would rather have that give the flying property versus actually just giving me more speed. I can usually get to where I need to go with the 2024 rules because we can now do a bonus movement as part of our rage, but this is a useful item, definitely if you find yourself just out of range for your attack sometimes and you just need to push it to a little bit further, or if you want to kind of take opponents' opportunity attacks and have them make them all at disadvantage. Next up, we have the Dancing Sword, a very useful way to weaponize our bonus action. The reason it makes the honorable mention list is there are a lot of great barbarian builds that use 2 one-handers, and when you're utilizing a 2-hander with Great Weapon Master, when you crit or you kill another creature, you're already going to have a way to weaponize that bonus action, even if you're not using a polearm with Polearm Master. And the last item on our honorable mention list is going to be the Cloak of Displacement. This is a fantastic item, but the issue is becomes Reckless Attack. When you use Reckless Attack, creatures are going to have advantage on attacks against you, which means they're going to be rolling twice, which means the Cloak of Displacement is going to be turning off more often. Creatures are going to have disadvantage on attack rolls against you, making this a straight roll, but then once they hit, the effect goes away. This is fine until you get hit, and when you are giving your targets advantage against you, this is going to kind of hinder the usefulness of Cloak of Displacement. All right, let's go into consumables. I did not add any of the consumables to my list, but barbarians are one of the best classes that synergize incredibly well with consumables. First of all, you have 2 books that you're going to be looking out for. The Manual of Gainful Exercise, which is going to give you an increase to your strength of 2, and then Manual of Bodily Health. The Manual of Bodily Health is the one that you're going to be looking for more, especially if you find some of the really nice strength items later on in the game that are going to set your strength score incredibly high. In addition to the manuals, there are a lot of really great potions for barbarians. Potion of Flying, giving them a fly speed equal to their speed for 1 hour and can hover. Potion of Greater Invisibility, you'll see some more invisibility items on that list, but having advantage on all attacks, not having to give out disadvantage on yourself, and giving out straight disadvantage to yourself is an absolutely fantastic item. Also, Potion of Giant Strength is going to basically imitate one of our items higher up on the list, but getting a strength of 29, 27, even 23 at lower levels is absolutely fantastic. Fantastic potion for barbarians. Potion of Heroism, ability to get the blessed spell with no concentration and a few extra temporary hit points. Excellent. Potion of Invulnerability, giving ourselves resistance to all damage. Absolutely fantastic for all barbarians, especially now if you're not using the Path of the Totem Barbarian, where you could use the bear totem and basically do this as part of your class feature. No longer available. This is a great substitute for that. Next up, Potion of Speed. Haste is always nice. An additional attack when you only get 2 attacks, even at higher levels, is absolutely fantastic. Also, the addition to our AC and our movement speed, all great things for barbarians. And without further ado, coming in at number 10 on our magic item list, things that make you fly. One of the major hindrances to barbarians is to be able to get where they need to go if something is out of range. And that is true for flying creatures, dragons, wyverns, all of these things. So both the winged boots at lower levels and the wings of flying are 2 items that can give the barbarian a fly speed. The boots are going to give it a basic fly speed, and then the wings of flying are going to give you a fly speed of 60 feet, which is wicked quick. The wing boots are going to be on a recharge system. They have 4 charges. They regain 1d4 charges at dawn, and you get to use the magic action to gain a flying speed of 30 feet for 1 hour. With the wings, you can use a magic action to turn them into a pair of wings on your back. It's going to last 1 hour or until the effect ends early as a magic action. You will not be able to use this item again for 1d12 hours. So you got a faster speed, but you're going to be rolling that d12 to see how fast it recharges. You might get it in an hour, you might get it in 4, you might not get it for 12. Moving on to number 9, we are going to have the Belt of Dwarven Kind. Now, this is a required item for one of the other items on this list, but Constitution increase of 2, absolutely fantastic. And if you aren't a dwarf, you get a dark vision of up to 60 feet and resistance to poison damage and advantage on saving throws to end or avoid the poison condition. Absolutely great item, and pairs incredibly well with our number 8 item, the Dwarven Thrower. This is a +3 item that has the thrown property with a normal range of 20 feet and a long range of 60 feet that has the push property, which is fantastic. When you hit with this ranged item, it deals an extra 1d8 force damage or 2d8 force damage if the target is a giant. The issue with the Dwarven Thrower is you need to be a dwarf or have the Belt of Dwarven Kind, which was the item we just went over, in order to attune to it. So in order to attune to this one, you kind of need the one before it if you're not already a dwarf. Now, 2 items that I rank fairly highly for barbarians, but definitely have the downsides, especially if you're the tank of the party, are invisibility items. The Cloak of Invisibility or the Ring of Invisibility. They both can make you invisible for an extended period of time, basically making all of your attacks have advantage against creatures that can't see you, so as anything without true sight, etc. Now, also all attacks towards you are going to be at disadvantage. So these items are going to allow you to really output a significant amount of damage and reduce the amount of damage coming into you. The only issue with this is the things that you are trying to tank might run right past you because they can't see you and end up in the squishy line. So that is one major downside with any items that make you invisible as a whole. Now for item 6, you're definitely not going to be invisible for this one. So the moonblade is my number 6 item for barbarians. I love the moonblade. It is a fun item that has a lot of thematic and RP elements to it. You basically get a number of traits equal to the number of wielders that the moonblade has had. It is 1d6 plus 1. It starts off with a +1 bonus to attacks, and then you can get any of these bonuses by rolling with it. You're obviously going to have to work with your DM on which ones they are, but you can end up with a +3 moonblade. You can end up with a moonblade that does an additional 3d6 force damage, that has the thrown property, that crits on 19s and 20s. This is a fantastic item that I think is very undervalued and I don't see on a lot of lists. I absolutely adore this item, especially when you get some of the really interesting, you can summon a shadow, it can be used as a ring of spell storing, and you can also have the moonblade flash brightly, causing the blinded condition on creatures around you. Next up, we have another weapon coming in at number 5, and that is the Executioner's Axe. You're going to get a +1 bonus to attack rolls and damage rolls made with this weapon. Any humanoid you hit with this weapon are going to take an extra 2d6 slashing damage, and you gain temporary hit points equal to the damage dealt. Against humanoids, this weapon is unbelievable, especially with barbarians, especially I would say the lower mid tiers of play, because hitting and then gaining those 2d6 temporary hit points are just going to add to your resiliency way up and over what you're going to kind of have coming in. You're going to be reducing the amount of damage coming in by 6 every single time your turn comes around. And at lower tiers of play, when you would normally get an Executioner's Axe, which is a very rare item, it can really tip the power levels towards the Barbarians flavor. Next up, we have a small group of items. The first one's going to be the Animated Shield, and in this I'm also putting it anything that increases your AC. Having a high AC as a barbarian is very underrated. Most barbarians are full offense, and adding that little bit of defense is why I am putting these items at 4 on my list. So Animated Shield, you can still use a two-handed weapon. You basically throw the shield into the air, it animates, and it is going to provide you the +2 bonus to your AC, and you do not need to use a hand to do it. The other items that I'll talk about are the Cloak of Protection, the Ring of Protection, adding a +1 bonus to your armor class, and also adding the +1 to your saving throws is incredibly useful as a defensive item for your barbarians. Coming in at number 3 is another group of items, and these are going to be items that give you spell resistance. Now, allowing you to roll with advantage on any saving throws for spells is absolutely, I think, a must, especially at higher level barbarians, in order to reduce the amount of incoming damage, because you're not going to be making a ton of intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throws as a barbarian. It's just the way it is. But there's a lot of really great options. Things like the Scarab of Protection. This is also going to add a +1 to your armor class, give you that advantage on saving throws that we're looking for, and it has another cool little effect with necromancy spells originating from undead. Spellguard Shield, another one. This one's, you're going to have to be holding a shield, so you're not going to be able to use two-handed weapons, but it is going to give you that advantage on spell saving throws that you're looking for, and the spell attack rolls are going to have disadvantage on you, which is a cool little bonus for this one. And then there's always the Mantle of Spell Resistance. You have advantage on saving throws against spells while you wear this cloak. Now, let's go on to number 2. Number 2 is going to be the Hammer of Thunderbolts. For anybody who has ever received this item in a game, this should not be any surprise. Some of you might be surprised it's not at number 1, but there's a reason for that. +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with this weapon. Weapon has 5 charges. Basically, you can throw it, huge crack, DC 17 Constitution saving throw, and it stuns them. Absolutely amazing. While you're attuned to this item, and you're wearing either the Belt of Giant Strength or the Gauntlets of Ogre Power, you gain the following benefits. Giant's Bane, when you roll a 20 on a D20 for an attack roll against a giant, the creature must succeed a DC 17 Constitution saving throw or die. Absolutely cool. And then you have the Might of Giants. The strength score bestowed by your Belt of Giant Strength or Gauntlets of Ogre Power increases by 4 to a maximum of 30. So the Gauntlets of Ogre Power that we talked about before, that gives you a strength of 19, would now give you a strength of 23. That is significantly better. But it really shines when you pair it with our number 1 item, and that is, of course, the Belt of Giant Strength, which comes in many flavors. This is the Belt of Storm Giant Strength. This is going to give you a strength score of 29. You're going to get that last one, getting you to a 30. When you pair this with the Hammer of Thunderbolts, if you are lucky enough to have both of them, but it will also work really great for the other belts of Giant Strength. So even with the base level Belt of Hill Giant Strength, you're going to be looking at a 25 strength. Now you're going to be looking at 27 strength with the Frost or Stone Giant. With the fire giant strength, you're going to be looking at a 30. For anything below that as well, fire, cloud, or storm, you're going to have a strength of 30, which is going to be adding to your hit, as well as your damage with all of your strength-based weapons, which is just a huge boost to your damage output. And that is why it is the #1 item on my top 10 items for Barbarians list. And there you have it. My top 10 magic items for Barbarians list. Obviously, we went over a lot more than 10 items today, but all of these items, if you see them as a barbarian, are going to do very well, synergizing with you and your abilities at the table. I'm going to do another one of these for another class. Let me know which class I should do down in the comments. And be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and allows me to bring more great TTRPG content to you. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.